running. I do not think that this is unimportant, because what he is talking about, Curtis is talking about, yes, we get the message. One after another is coming. Dropping hints. Isn't that what it's called? Dropping hints? What Curtis is talking about is the more important than what I do, even more important than what I do, and that is he talks about the life streams. That Schoenstatt is not only intellect and words and concepts and stuff that I'm talking about mainly, but is a lot of life streams. And so when we accompany the Blessed Mother in her pilgrim shrine or the auxiliary, or when we work with the staff or the scepter or a crown or the Father Eye symbol, all of these different things, that's the life of Schoenstatt. The Father Eye symbol came here, and it was hopefully, when it went to Atlanta, it brought the biggest uproar, and it was very helpful. It changed things in Atlanta for us, and it was because of Father Eye symbol, the Father Eye symbol. And it's a very beautiful thing, you know, that a person who had tremendous struggles and so on, heard that I will have the Mass there, and went there, and it brought a whole lot of stuff rolling and going and so on, only because of the Father Eye visit. And so I am personally very convinced that Father uses that very much. And so the symbols are a reality. They're expressing a life which we have, Father, relationship to the Father, to the child, and so on, the scepter, or whichever symbol of the shrine. And so regard that as something very helpful. And also all the different things that Curtis is talking about, I'm very glad that you do that, because you are talking about the life, and that's what we're going to do now at 4 o'clock when I am done with this presentation, and when you share. Listen to each other. What are we doing? Where are we striving? Where are we falling short? What is the life? What is alive in us? And that's where the Blessed Mother keeps us going, so that we listen to each other and grow. Okay? Now, let's continue with our presentation. And dear Blessed Mother, we want to ask you to implore the gifts of the Holy Spirit, that this topic of covenant culture can form life inside of us. I trust your might,
your kindness, Mother dear. I do believe that you are always near. Schoenstatt's great Queen, O Mother mild, I blindly trust in you and in your child.
I closed on covenant culture, item number 2. The covenant became a lived reality, and I talked about the covenant, blank, and I wanted to illustrate that a little bit with some text from Brushstrokes 3. When I read it with that in mind, that during this year our motto is, your covenant, our mission. And that is around the whole world of the Schoenstatt family. Your covenant, and we wanted to say your covenant, Blessed Mother, becomes our mission, so that there is a partnership expressed already in that phrase. And when I read this book number 3 on brushstrokes, a number of places jumped at me. In 1962, Father Kentin looked back on his time in the Carmel prison in Koblenz in 1942, and he said, without the covenant of love, everything that I dared would have been madness, crazy, especially when I voluntarily went to Dachau. It can only be explained from the reality of the covenant of love. I want to repeat, the reason that I came back from the bunker 4 weeks in the bunker, in darkness. Usually the prisoners would last a couple of days. 4 weeks from the bunker so healthy was because I remained totally free on the soul level, seelish, inwardly. After I was under the earth for so long and then came up, it was at first hard for me to breathe. But after I was in fresh air again for a while, it immediately went well again because I remained totally free on the soul level. You must bear in mind that I did things out of the atmosphere, the attitude, and today we would say the culture of the covenant of love. It was not some game where I said, look God, I'm invincible. No. It was a firm trust in the Blessed Mother and the covenant of love. So he is stating that it's not a game, it's real. And it was a firm trust in the covenant and the Blessed Mother. Then, in 1966, Father Kentenich reflected on January 20th, that's the decision for Dachau, this way, at a retreat for the Schönstatt Fathers. My calculation went like this. If the covenant of love has been accepted in heaven, and if the covenant of love is reciprocal, then it is self-evident that the Blessed Mother has the same duty of love as we, to care for her work and instrument. From now on, I consistently brushed aside all human means. That's what it means to swim in an atmosphere, as he says, to live out of that reality, that the covenant has been accepted in heaven, it is real, and it is mutual. I for her and she for me. I for the Lord and the Lord for me. And so the Blessed Mother has the same duty of love as we, to care for her work and instrument. Those sentences are really amazing, and they have a lot of weight. And then one more closing. Well, I have more here. For me, this was a difficult decision. I would have advised anyone else to use the opportunity to get out. But it was so clear to me that I must not use natural means. Go to Dachau. You cling so much to the conviction that the covenant of love with the Blessed Mother is a reality. You are convinced, is he talking about himself, you are convinced that Our Lady takes seriously the responsibility she has over you and the family. If only you yourself and the entire family take the inscriptio seriously, then you will make it. You understand, it is a death leap for the sober intellect, as well as a death leap for the will and the heart. The sacrifice using things we can wrap our hands around and believe in the reality of the supernatural more than the things we can touch. That was our situation. And so Father Kentenich leaves behind that legacy, which is out of reach for us, probably, in many ways, and yet it's a beautiful reality, that when it comes right down to it, she is the one. And so I have another quote. Father Josef Neuenhofer is one of our Schönstatt Fathers. He is in Bolivia, in La Paz, and he has built a whole city for street children. He takes care of more than 5,000. He has a whole hospital. He has 8 homes, and so he goes around every year to collect funds, to solicit funds. So he comes to Milwaukee, and at one of the breakfasts with us, he told us that in the later part of the exile, when Father Kentenich's time there was very dark, the decrees and everything, and everybody was worried to death. he walked with Father Kentenich up and down at the cemetery. And he said to Father Kentenich, you know, how can you stand it? It drives us crazy. It's so difficult, it's so dark around Schoenstatt and you. And he stopped, and he looked at him and said, Joseph, I have made the covenant. Period. That sentence has told me a lot. Joseph, I made the covenant, and therefore I don't need to worry. Who of us can say that? Our worries are real, and his worries were real too. Nothing is invented. The way of coping is different. The way how we cope, the way how he copes. And so we talk about the covenant culture. That can be a word. For him, that was the deepest reality of his life. I have made the covenant, and therefore I will go to sleep and trust. I will do everything I can for the Blessed Mother and trust. I will pray and sacrifice. I will do everything in my power, yes, but I will not have to worry. That is a very different attitude. And that was the end of the story for Father Kentenich to explain to Joseph, well, Father Kentenich stayed in Milwaukee all this time, and he couldn't change anything, and yet the inner attitude was, she will take care, and she did. And so the whole Schoenstatt family is built on that foundation. And so when we talk about the covenant culture, then that permeates everything, that trust, that faith, that kind of death leap attitude, that, Blessed Mother, I put it into your hands and now you know. Do I have to move? Do I have to change jobs? Shall we have another child? Shall we not? Difficult decisions in our life. You know the way. And I think that makes the covenant so real for us. Now let's go to number 3 and talk about the covenant culture in marriage. I've put a few things down here, and what you are hearing from me this whole weekend is, if you can apply what we talk about the Blessed Mother, if you can apply that to your spouse, to your covenant partner in marriage. Wow. And I put down the respect, the acceptance, the cooperation, the responsibility. That's how it shows in a marriage covenant life. And from the beginning, our founder wanted for us to have a healthy relationship, a loving relationship. And so the more we miss that, the more we suffer, of course, yes. But the dignity of each person, the dignity of the children, the dignity of the woman, all of that comes out when we talk about covenant culture in marriage. That bond of love between God and us, between the Blessed Mother and us, becomes tangible. And so I imagine in my dreaming way, if I would be married, how would I be, and so on. And so, can I do that? Yes, I think of that a lot, because I realize that when you live on the other side of the street, the grass is always greener. So, but for you, the grass is greener on my side. And for me, the grass is greener on your side. That means when you hold each other. Do you hold the Lord? Do you hold the Blessed Mother in each other's arms? That's the symbolism that Curtis was talking about. That we represent for each other the Lord, the Blessed Mother, Jesus, Saint Joseph. And when you hug each other, when you love each other, when you kiss each other, when you share your love with each other, the Lord is right there. He is present. The beauty of your love is a reflection of God's love for us. That's the ideal of marriage. Now, how ideal it can be in daily life, I don't know. Well, you say, well, today I'm in the state of grace, but tomorrow you're going to get it. You better watch out. The reality of married life is very simple oftentimes. It's not so easy. But we need to see the goal. We need to see the idea. So when we're talking about covenant culture, that means that your love relationship with the Lord and the Blessed Mother has to translate itself into reality, into concrete actions. Yesterday I visited one of our ladies who is sick, and she spoke in very beautiful, glowing terms about the care that her husband gives her. I was very impressed. She said, my husband takes such good care of me. He cooks the meals now that I can't walk anymore and I'm sick and so on. And he takes care of this and that and the other and so on and so forth. And I said, isn't that a beautiful sign of love? And when we're younger, we take mutual care, and now when one cannot and the other and so on. That's the love that God shows us through each other. And the older we get, the more we take care of each other, right? How many years did you do it? 3 years. I know. Yes. And it makes a difference. Big difference. And that's the covenant love that shows in concrete actions. It's very real. By the way, if some of you think of Father Dieter and send a prayer to him once in a while, I can have good news for you, because he is doing real well in Chile. Okay. We brought him there last February, so it's a year ago, and in our own house of the community he has personal care, we have round-the-clock nursing care, and there are the other fathers, and I think there are 9 in the house right now. And so he has daily mass, and he is living right next to the shrine. They take him to the shrine, and he can participate in things. And on his birthday now, on the 14th of February, Father Francisco and I, we called him on the phone. And of course he cannot talk, but he can, and so we greeted him, and and so he was making some sounds and noises and so on, but he can sing. And so he sings along with us when we sing the consecration prayer, My Queen, My Mother, that he can do. Wow. And so his voice comes across very nicely on the phone, and so he sang along, My Queen, My Queen, My. So, somehow it still comes out. It would be nice if he could speak, but the one or the other word he says, but basically not speaking. So the care that we give him, that is the love that God wants for us to show. So we all experience that in sickness and in health, all of our days. And that's the reality of our life. So in marriage, in family life, and the struggles, the difficulties, and how we hurt each other, and how we forgive each other, and all of these different things. So now let's talk a little bit more about the culture itself. Father Locher wrote this little booklet, Covenant Culture, as a summary of a workshop which our professors, so to speak, had in Germany when Father Jonathan was still alive. We have a Zion Institute, that is a research institute in our community. And they took the topic one summer, what is culture, and talked about covenant culture. And then Father Locher summarized it in this little booklet, Covenant Culture. And so there is what is culture, what is a covenant culture, what is Schönstadt's contribution. And so from pages 93 on till 120, there are all the different things, you know, the covenant, the personality, pedagogy, and so on, attachments to things, people, places, and so on. The tools of our instrumentarium, and so there's lots of things. And I took from that on the bottom of my sheet the last part. We must create concrete forms. But before that, maybe let's go to the first part.